Hey guys, welcome back to Airstream Beginner Basics Bootcamp. I'm your host Evan with Tilly in Tacoma, and in this week's video we're going to be going over what in the heck is boondocking. So stay tuned. I'm going to walk you through all of the steps that you need to know while boondocking, how to get out there, how long you can last, and stay tuned to the end of the video where I'm going to be going over our top 10 boondocking tips that we've learned over the past couple years that's going to guarantee you at least a couple more days while you're boondocking. So stay tuned, you don't want to miss it. Did you just spend your entire life savings on a brand new Airstream? Dropped $100,000? How do you even buy an Airstream? How often do we gotta service these things? Are you scared to death that you're about to break it? Are you wondering what's the difference between payload and tongue weight, and does it even matter? How do I get insurance on this? Do I need total replacement, or should I just go with Geico? Do we drain the black tank first or the gray tank first? How do you even dump this thing? What is a black tank flush? What are those little pods we put down the toilet? And do they even make a difference? Do we really need a hitch lock? There's like 10 different Facebook groups. Which one do I even join? What do we need to buy immediately just so we can go camping? If you found yourself answering yes to any of those questions, this new series is for you. Welcome to Airstream Beginner Basics Bootcamp, where I'm gonna go over all the tips and tricks that I've learned in the last year and a half of owning a brand new Airstream, and I'm gonna give it to you straight, because I've got the whole book of secrets right here, and I'm ready to divulge all of them to you. And with that being said, welcome to Airstream Beginner Basic Bootcamp. I'm your host, Evan, with Tilly in Tacoma, and we hope to see you out in your Airstream real soon. Okay, so let's get into it. What in the heck is boondocking? So boondocking refers to the type of camping that you're going to be doing in remote areas. It's also referred to as dry camping, meaning that you won't have access to water, electricity, or dump station. So the whole thing about boondocking is usually you're camping in remote areas. When I think of boondocking, I'm thinking of very exotic locations, maybe side of mountains, in the desert. Think of all of your BLM land, that's Bureau of Land Management land, or your National Forest land. Here in the Pacific Northwest, there's a ton of forested land that you're able to camp in. These are not your traditional campsites. So when I say National Forest or BLM land, that's all public land available to camp in. But again, these aren't campsites. So when you find, there's no specific site that you're going to when you are camping in a national forest, or if you've scoped out some BLM land, these aren't something that you can so much plan for. It's kind of like a first come, first served basis. And again, there's no utilities at the sites. So again, boondocking is referring to remote type camping. Whatever type of camping you'll be doing, it will all be self-contained in your RV. So in this video, or for instance, we're going to be talking about what boondocking means in terms of your Airstream, because we are Airstream owners, and it is called Airstream Beginner Basics Bootcamp. You may also hear boondocking called dry camping. There's another term that I hear, mooch-docking. Usually mooch-docking is when you're in like your neighbor's yard, or you're visiting a family or a friend and you're mooching off of their power, or you're mooching off their water hose. That would be mooch-docking. But in terms of this video, we're going to be going over boondocking. Boondocking is referring to having everything you need for that camping visit all self-contained into your Airstream, meaning you won't have connection to power, you won't have connection to water, and you won't have connections to any type of sewer outputs. So everything you need for this journey is going to be inside the Airstream and not off of a campsite. So really, boondocking is really immersing yourself into self-sufficiency and really just being in nature and not relying on the external environment to keep you afloat. And when I think of boondocking, I'm thinking about going to a location that is almost untouched, or the way that nature intended it to be, as it's not a developed campsite. So although boondocking can be both reinvigorating and exhilarating, there are a couple things that you need to keep in mind before you get started on this journey to make sure that you're respecting nature and making sure that you're leaving no trace behind. Because often in these sites, they are on the side of a mountain or in the desert, and there is no trash cans, there's no utilities. So here are a few key important things that will help get you on a safe yet successful boondocking journey. Okay, now that you have a fundamental view of what boondocking is, let's get into some fundamental practices that you're gonna need to know before you get on your first boondocking journey. So first, let's talk about power. Again, boondocking is you're showing up somewhere with no power, no water, and no sewage. So everything has to be self-contained. This is why we really chose the Airstream Base Camp. So again, we have a 2023 Airstream Base Camp 20X, and it is a boondocking machine. It really does excel more so than your classic Airstreams, your internationals. It really is kind of made for off-roading adventures and for boondocking. The first thing we're gonna be talking about is power or your electric. So when you're boondocking, you won't have access to your direct connection of shore power. Shore power is going to be a supplied electrical outlet so that you can power your Airstream. When you're boondocking, that pretty much goes against the rule of boondocking. So again, you're going to be relying on whatever your Airstream has for power that is not shore power. So that's going to be meaning you're relying on your batteries. And in Airstreams, it's typical to either have two types of batteries. I'm not going to go too deep into battery consumption and solar and whatnot, but I am going to give you a fundamental view of what you're going to need to have a successful boondocking journey. On Airstreams, there's two types of batteries usually. That's going to be your AGM, which is what used to be industry standard. That's your lead acid batteries. And then there is our new kind of line of batteries, which is called lithium ion batteries, your battle-born batteries. That's all going to be additional upcharges when you're buying your Airstream at the dealership or wherever you're getting, or if you want to do modifications. When we got our Airstream, we decided that we would be boondocking in it and that we wanted to upgrade our batteries to lithium ion batteries. So we have two 100 amp hour batteries in our Airstream Base Camp. That's kind of like your classic off-grid solar package add-on when you're buying it at the dealership. We decided with two because we thought that was probably going to be enough for our type of boondocking consumption. So we discussed the batteries. Now let's discuss how those batteries will be getting charged if they're not going to be charged off of shore power. Because in a boondocking environments, power is a pretty big deal. So with our Airstream Base Camp, we have configured on top about 300 watts of solar. So the 300 watts of solar is intaking energy from the sun, converting it down to energy to then pass through to our batteries. And then whatever the demand is in our Airstream, that's using power from our batteries. So how can you boondock with an Airstream? It's through batteries and through solar panels. And you're in luck because that's usually the combination that Airstream is going to throw at you. So again, our setup is lithium ion battle-born batteries. That's 200 amp hours of battery. And then we have 300 watts of solar on top of the roof. And that setup has afforded us a pretty good duration of power, whether we're having a short boondocking trip or a long boondocking trip. I'm going to go over what is our longest time being able to boondock in our Airstream. A couple more minutes, so just stay tuned, hang on, I will get there. Again, this is our setup for our power. We also have a portable lithium-ion generator. That's the EcoFlow product. That's the biggest over-your-ass backup battery that you can have, I believe. It's really affordable for what it's affording you. So in the event that we're boondocking and say we have battery failure or we have, less solar that day, at least that we have a portable generator route that we could still use in the event that our normal batteries aren't performing. And we can't recommend enough EcoFlow products. We're not sponsored by EcoFlow, but we do highly recommend the River Pro. We have that unit. It's just like a simple, small, car battery looking device, super portable, can charge via multiple ways, but it is like a get out of jail free card in the event that we lose power with the Airstream. We always have our portable generator with us, and it can power pretty much anything in the Airstream that we would need it to. So it's just a great cover your butt option in the event that you're boondocking and you run out of power from your main batteries. So we really highly recommend EcoFlow. Check them out. I'll link the product that we actually bought and used in the description below, and feel free to check it out. Let's talk just a little bit more about power and what that really looks like in our use case when we're actually going boondocking. This was our number one question of how long are we going to be able to use this base camp to go boondocking? And that's often an answer that we really couldn't get from anyone because it was, dependent on your use case, dependent on how many batteries you have, how much solar you have. As you can see, every option that you add on will determine how long you can actually go out and boondock. So for this example, and I think what you would be wanting to get out of this video is how long can the Airstream 2023 base camp go boondocking? So in this case, we have, again, our 2023 Airstream Base Camp 20X. That comes with almost 300 watts of solar, and we have two 100 amp hour lithium-ion battle-borne batteries. So let's get into it. Me and Kim have gone successfully 9 days max while boondocking. What that means is that we were able to have plenty of power for our refrigerator, have enough power for showers, to use the water pump. We had enough water to do dishes, to do really fast showers, and we had enough black tank space to properly use the bathroom. So we went 9 days. That really was pushing it. So let us know in the comments, how long have you ever been? What's been your longest boondocking journey? So another question you may have is, what in my Airstream is going to run off of batteries, or what can be solar powered? So again, solar is powering the batteries. The battery is what's powering the devices in your Airstream. So what that looks like is we can pretty much use everything inside of the Airstream except for the air conditioning and except for any AC plugs. AC plugs are your home plugs, the classic 2-prong. So anything you would try to plug into those outlets in the Airstream, they are not going to run off of battery unless you have an inverter, which you can install at a later time or whenever you get your Airstream, or adding on a modification down the road. However, if you get it straight out of the factory, straight with the solar add-on and the battery upgrade, none of those outlets are going to work because they are AC powered and not DC powered. And again, I'm not going to go too deep into what's DC, what's AC, what's solar, what's not, because it's just not the right video for that. However, in terms of boondocking, what will work in the Airstream, again, remember everything inside of the Airstream except for the air conditioning and none of those actual plugs. Now, the USB plugs, those are DC powered, so those are pulling straight from the battery. And then all of the ice box is also DC powered, and all of the, I believe, I don't know what year they switched over to DC from the propane, but I think 2020s and above. I'm not certain on that, but our 2023 is DC powered. The hot water heater is also DC powered. The heater itself, the furnace, is also DC powered, so that's all pulling from the battery. So again, most of everything that you really need to get started boondocking is offered in the Airstream X package for the base camp. So that was why we really wanted to get the base camp, so that we could have the option to go completely off grid in the event that we wanted to. So just to wrap up this section, we're talking about power and electric. This is going to be a heavy hitter when you're boondocking. This will determine how long you can actually stay out and boondocking, because your Airstream is going to need power to pretty much use any type of the components in the Airstream, whether that's your toilet, whether that's your water. Everything is coming back to power, so it's very important to know what your power configuration looks like on your Airstream. Because let's face it, that's going to be different from ours, that's going to be different from yours, and it's going to be important when you are picking out a new Airstream to know what type of camping you want to do or how long that you think you would be boondocking. So now that we talked about electric and power, now let's talk about water. Water is also a very important step of this process, because this is also going to determine your duration of your boondocking trip. So let's go over the use of water in your boondocking journey in your Airstream. So that's going to mean all of your hand washing, that's going to require water. All of your dishes that you're going to be washing during this journey, that's going to require a lot of water. Flushing the toilet is also going to require water, and then also showering. So all of those events that I just listed are going to require quite a bit of water. And depending on what your rig is set up, it's really going to determine how long your journey of boondocking is going to last. With these videos like this, I'd also like to interject like what personally has been working for us and like kind of what the real world experience looks like. So let me walk you through that in terms of water. So Kim and I had never boondocked before at all in our Airstream. So this was our first Airstream boondocking journey. And we went to the Big Bend National Park area. There's a lot of land out there that you can pull up to and dry camp. Yeah, so we had a full tank of our fresh water. And that's about 20 gallons or so in the Airstream base camp. So that was our water supply. And then we had about a case of water that you can get from Costco or Sam's for bottled water that we would drink at. So we quickly learned that that was not going to be enough water. I don't know if this was around day 3 or day 2, but we were learning that we were using quite a bit of water. And I would say the reason we were using quite a bit of water is because this is an entire different way of camping. We of course knew that we weren't going to be able to take long, luxurious showers, which if you're in the Airstream industry, you probably already know that. So we were already used to, like, knew we were going to have to cut down on that. But until you do these type of like military showers in your Airstream, it's just not something you're used to doing. So we quickly learned that we were gonna need more water. So a tip here is to buy an external canister of water. And I'm not talking about little bottles, but they make 10, 15, 20, 25 gallon portable basins to carry water in, and then you can refill your fresh tank with that water. So anytime you go to get potable water, or usually around state parks, you can fill up with drinking water. Fill that big jug up and always have it in your tow vehicle or in the Airstream. So in the event that you run out of water, because you likely will, because 20 gallons only goes so far, you can easily just go outside, lift up the canister and fill up your fresh tank. Let's go over some more tips and tricks around water and conservation, what we've learned boondocking in the Airstream. Doing dishes is a huge suck of water. I would try to prevent doing dishes at all possible. And I know that might sound like really disgusting. I don't know what type of eating you're doing when you're boondocking, but you really do need to adapt to like what that actual environment's looking like. So you're not gonna be wanting to make steak dinners or anything that's gonna make a mess, because you're gonna have to live with that mess for however long you're on this journey. Because I'm telling you right now, you're not going to be able to wash dishes the way that you normally would in a house with, unlimited water. So again, make sure that you're limiting dishes to, paper recyclable type dishes. Or make sure that you can just easily wipe it up with a napkin. I know it sounds unclean, but trust me, you're gonna wanna have to do something pretty innovative if you wanna extend your journey here. And here's a tip for doing dishes in the event that you still need to use water to do them. What we've learned is always have an empty basin that can hold water, either in your tow vehicle or stored in the base camp. We always have one that's about a 5-gallon container that we got from Amazon. And it can hold dishes, it can hold towels, it's kind of our catch-all until we need it to hold water. If you have a need to do dishes, make sure that you have an external basin that catches the water. Because it's not only the water that's running through the faucet that you're using to wash the dishes, it's also where that water goes, and that's gonna go to your drains. And we're gonna talk about that in our next section of how that will also limit and play a factor on how long you're able to boondock. Because not only are you using water, but you're also using your dump tanks to hold that excess water. So again, we're talking about power, water, and our tanks and our sewage, okay? All of them play a major component talking to each other so that you can actually boondock. Our tip for washing dishes is have an external canister or an external basin so that you can fill up with minimal water, add some Dawn dish detergent, wash your dishes, and depending on where you are, a lot of spots will allow for gray water discharge. There's a lot of BLM land that is. So gray water discharge is your soapy water from your dishes. It has nothing to do with your black tank, with your sewage. You cannot dispose of any type of black water probably anywhere you go. Again, have a basin for doing your dishes that collects the water and that hopefully that you're able to dump somewhere else besides your drains. Okay, so let's talk about how you take a shower when boondocking. There are multiple ways to take a shower when you're boondocking. However, there are probably better ways than others. So you're not gonna wanna take a huge luxury shower while you're boondocking, or you're probably only gonna last maybe one night. We've experimented with this in our base camp when we've been boondocking, when we've been, connected to full hookups, and we've kind of learned like how much water is being consumed when taking a normal shower. So I'd say normally if we had full hookups, we tested this out, and I'd take maybe about a 5 to 6 minute shower. That on our readings reads out to using about like 60% of our full tank of water. It fills up our gray water holding tank by like 40 to 50%. So taking one normal shower in your Airstream can almost fill up your tank by like 50% and use 50% of your resources, which is insane, because I know a lot of people that are just getting into the industry, they're buying it to like live normally, but that's just not the fact when you are getting into the RV lifestyle, is that you're gonna have to make sacrifices, and usually that's one of them. Again, it's not gonna matter if you're taking a 6-minute shower, if you have, direct hookups to, your sewer and your water, that's unlimited, that doesn't matter. However, in boondocking, it matters tremendously. So let's talk about that. So when we're boondocking, what we've learned is that how you wanna take a shower is what they commonly refer to as a military shower. So what that looks like in real world, I'm not from the military, I kinda got what the gist of what that meant, but what that means is that you're taking a very fast shower. So what that looks like to us is that we are going to turn on our hot water all the way. And if you're in the base camp, if you have a base camp, you know what this is like. I don't know if it's in other Airstreams with on-demand hot water heaters. This is how it works for us. So in the base camp, you turn on your hot water in the shower. You're sitting there naked in the shower in your tiny little cubicle standing above your toilet, and you're waiting for the hot water to get hot because, if you're boondocking and it's cold outside, you don't want to squirt cold water on your body. So what that looks like for us in the base camp, it takes, I would say, 15 to sometimes 20 seconds to get that demand of hot water. So the way our hot water heater works is you turn on the hot, it sends a demand to our hot water heater, the propane fires through the water, warms it up, then delivers to the shower. That process takes about 20 seconds. I would encourage you, not while boondocking, but having water and having hookups, to go out there, turn on your hot water, and see how long that's going to take to heat up, because that uses quite a bit of water. I'm gonna say almost a gallon of water, maybe a little less than a gallon, but it's gonna use a lot of water that is precious that you don't wanna waste because it's cold. So what we've learned, another tip here, is that before you get into your shower, have that basin of water, that we have one from IKEA. It's just a big flat floppy basin that can hold probably 5 gallons of water. Bring that into you, set it on the toilet, put your shower head into that, turn on your hot all the way. It's gonna run through all the cold water, and then it's going to start hot. Then you're gonna take the shower head, and then you're gonna quickly wet your entire body with the hot water, and then you're gonna quickly turn it off. Now what this is gonna do, because this is how the base camp hot water features, is it's going to cut your supply of hot water. And then you're gonna have to restart that process if you want hot water again. So again, the base camp, I'm telling you, is like really good at boondocking, but there's a couple of things that kind of suck about it. And that is one of them, because it's going to limit and suck your water more so than maybe some of the other Airstreams that are coming out. So that's our tip. Contain that water so that you can save your gray water space. Our number one tip here regarding showers is that you're gonna wanna try to do the entire thing from start to finish in under 120 seconds. Anything over 2 minutes and you're just using too much water at this point. You really just want to first wet your entire self, then do all the suds. That's with the water turned off. Turn back the water on and quickly rinse off. And that's really going to prolong your journey by so much, because once you run out of water and you become stinky, that's going to limit your journey of boondocking. The last section about water I want to talk about is hand washing. And if you're anything like me and you go hiking and you've got your walking sticks and your poles or whatnot, or you've been outside all day, there's nothing better than coming back to your Airstream, firing on the hot water and washing your hands. That's a luxury when you're boondocking. And I'm gonna say it's a luxury that you're going to want to limit as much as possible. So what we've learned is always have some instant hand sanitizer or some waterless options, just to make sure that your hands are staying clean, free of bacteria, of course, but really, really limit your hand washing. And again, like in our base camp, to fire on hot water, we have to discharge almost an entire gallon of water before the hot actually comes. So what we can do is we can fill up a little basin of water. Again, that's why it's so important to have an external basin of water, and maybe that's just used for hand washing. We'll fill it up with, just a little bit of water, add some soap, and then that becomes our hand washing only station. And then maybe we have another basin that is our dishwashing space. And so you've kind of got two things of water here. It's self-contained, gray water only, and it's not hitting your tanks at all. Okay, in our last section of Boondocking 101, learning how to boondock, whatever you want to call it, the last section we need to talk about, and I guess I've saved probably the most disgusting topic for last, but there's no reason for us to be scared to talk about sewage. We all go to the bathroom, we all do number one, we all do number two, so we need to discuss how that's possible when you're boondocking. So how do you use the bathroom when you're boondocking? And this ultimately goes back to how long of a journey are we expecting? Are we expecting to just boondock for 3 days? Are we expecting for 10 days, a week, 2 weeks? All of these steps, that is number one of what you need to consider is how long are we boondocking? Because that's going to determine all of what you do, all of what you use, what you can, what you can't do. That determines it all. So what does it look like to go to the bathroom? So if we're going on a week-long boondocking trip, we know that we can have enough space to, properly have enough power, have enough water, and have enough space in our black tank to actually use the bathroom multiple times a day. So let's just get into the dirty of it all. So depending on where you're boondocking, whether they have, an outhouse or whether they have like a porta potty, whatnot, I would say use those options if they're available, just so that you can conserve the amount of space in your black tank. I would say that black tank is never an issue for us while boondocking. Where we run into space problems is with our gray tank and with our freshwater reservoir. We've never actually had an instance where we've actually filled our entire black tank to where that's ended our boondocking journey. So I'd say for newbies here, we were really concerned of oh, well, that's going to determine how long we're able to boondock is based on how much we can fill the black tank. But really, that's not been true. So some tips and some tricks of what we learned with boondocking in terms of our sewage is our gray tank fills up way faster than our black tank. I'd say almost four times faster than our black tank. So my tip would be, if there's bathrooms wherever you're at, whether it be a rest area or somewhere that's close by, I would use that before I would start using your bathroom in the Airstream. And I know that sounds crazy or counterintuitive of why you bought the Airstream, but my philosophy is, if my goal is to stay somewhere safe and sound and in the luxury of the Airstream, while boondocking, there's probably something I'm gonna have to give up. And if it's realistic to just go to a safe, clean bathroom elsewhere, that's probably what I'm gonna do. Okay, so we've covered pretty much the fundamentals of what boondocking is, the 3 main components that you're gonna have to know, that being electric, your power, your water, and your sewage. So I think after watching this video, you should be able to have a pretty good understanding of what that all means in terms of Airstreams. But if not, I'm now going to share you our top tips while boondocking, and let's get into that. Tip number 1, have an external source of water. So use a water jug like we bought. It's a really big 10-gallon, 8-gallon jug. You can just keep it in your tow vehicle, keep it in the Airstream, and you can fill that up to fill up your fresh tank later. Tip number 2 would be to have a portable generator with you at all times when you're boondocking. This helps prevent you running out of power and helps power up some devices in the event that your Airstream runs out of battery. And we've learned that we've actually had to use this multiple times, so it's a really great investment. We recommend EcoFlow River Pro model. We have that. and it's linked in the description below. Tip number 3 is to wash your dishes in an external basin and not have the dishwater go down in your sink to fill up your gray water. Having it in an external source, it allows you to capture that water and dispose of it as appropriately you can. And it also helps conserve water because you're not having to constantly run the water faucet when you're doing dishes. Tip number 4 is to have an external hand washing station set up. That way you're not using constant water when you pop up that faucet, and you're able to collect the water and discharge it appropriately later. Tip number 5 is, of course, take 120 seconds to take your shower and no more. 2 minutes or less is actually doable, and if we can do it, you absolutely can do it. Tip number 6 would be to use a porta potty or use a local restroom versus using the bathroom in your Airstream, just so that you can extend your journey longer. Again, filling up our black tank, we went 9 days, and 9 days is a pretty big length of a journey in your Airstream while boondocking. So 9 days and using the bathroom in the Airstream sounds like a pretty good trade-off to me. However, if you want to go, I would say more than that, more than a week, I would definitely look into using the bathroom somewhere more local. Tip number 7 would be to get a portable solar panel that you can put up. On our Airstream base camp, we have 3 solar panels on the roof that are fixed, but we also have a portable solar panel that we can set up to actually kind of chase the sun. This also links into our main battery and charges that way. So again, if you have access to get a portable solar panel, we'll link the one that we have in the description below. I would definitely have that on hand just in the event that you're parked next to shade or you need to chase that sun to get some power. Tip number 8 is going to be around food and keeping it cold. So make sure that you have an external way to do that. I'm not talking about having another ice box, but have one of those food safe bags that help, like, keep your ice cream cold for 24 hours or 10 hours or whatnot. We will link the ice chest that we have below. It's been super great. We've never really had to use it in terms of like, oh no, our ice box has broken, what are we gonna do? But we have ran into the event that we did lose power, that we needed to transfer all of our groceries from our ice box to this portable cooler. And then that made the journey home so that we didn't lose the produce that was in the fridge. So invest into a nice portable cooler. It'd be worth it so that you don't have to lose all your groceries in the event that you run out of batteries and your fridge stops. Tip number 9 is make sure that you have decent lighting. And by decent lighting, I mean a really good flashlight. I know the ones that you strap onto your head look really crazy, but they have never been more useful than when you run out of power in your Airstream. You're going outside trying to figure out what's the deal. You need both hands usually when you're camping. And it's just so great. Invest in a nice little headlamp. I'll link the ones that we have in the description below. They're super cheap. They last quite a long time, and most of them are rechargeable. Get you a headlamp. You're gonna need it. Make sure that you have ample flashlights available in the event that you lose power while boondocking. And our final tip, tip number 10, would be to replace the shower head that comes standard on your Airstream. In this case, our Airstream base camp came with one that used like 1.8 gallons per minute, or maybe even 2 gallons per minute, which is insane because our fresh tank is only 20 gallons. So you can imagine while taking a shower, you're using almost 2 gallons per minute. And if you're showering for 2 minutes, that's using almost 5 gallons of water. So that doesn't make sense. There's some really great shower heads on the market. We found this from the Airstream group, and it is a really great shower head and a lot of pressure and uses less than 1 gallon per minute. So we cut that almost in half. I will link that in the description below. By making this change, we actually are able to extend our trip by multiple more days because the shower is using less water, but yet you're not sacrificing pressure. So I linked that in the description below. Check that out if you want to boondock, but that really was a game changer for us. So another question that we receive is like, where do you go to find boondocking locations? Because this can often kind of lead you down a rabbit hole. Because again, this isn't kind of the same camping you're doing when you're organizing or planning a campsite that you're trying to go to. A lot of the times, boondocking sites are first come, first serve. So what we've learned to do is look at the BLM map. There's a ton of locations located on their website that you can sift through. That's Bureau of Land Management. That's all like public lands for the public to have access to. I don't know if it's available in every state, but here in the Pacific Northwest, it is very plentiful to use. There's also national forest lands, which does require you to have a permit. A lot of the times you can kind of bundle it with your national park pass. So if you have a national park pass, it might have include national forest lands. I know that the park pass that we just bought here in the Pacific Northwest does cover national forest lands, so you can stop and set up camp at any of the national forest land options. I haven't really deep dove into staying at any BLM land or national forest land, but it will definitely be on our list as we are now living here in the Pacific Northwest, and it is very plentiful to camp there. So stay tuned in maybe future videos where I can go over like what that looks like on, kind of finding a site with BLM land or the national forest. Yeah, and I'll go over that as soon as we actually stay at one. All right, guys, just to wrap up this video, we have talked about what boondocking is, what that really means for Airstreams. Can Airstreams actually boondock? The answer, of course, is yes. The base camp really does shine in this category, but all Airstreams are equipped or can be equipped to go boondocking. That journey might look a little different for what size Airstream you have, but that's why I'm here to answer any questions that you have about boondocking or any questions that you have about your Airstream. Please comment, please like this video if you found any of the content useful. By liking the video, it promotes our video to other Airstream newbies that might actually need to really see these videos, so that's our goal here. I hope you enjoyed the content. Let us know where you like to go boondocking, how long you've actually been able to do it in your Airstream, and anything else that you'd like to see us cover in the future. I hope this video was helpful, maybe getting you started on boondocking. I know it might be a little scary at first, but if we can do it, you absolutely too can do it. I'd say a tip would be to start small, maybe go a 1 to 2 day trip, see how that feels, see what your use case is looking like, and then extend your trip, maybe the next time. Until next time, I'm Evan with Tilly in Tacoma, and we'll see you on our next week's video.